Hello everybody and welcome to my talk. My name's Sara Frost and I work for Naturetrek, the wildlife travel company. Many of you will have heard of us, if not travelled with us before, I'm sure. And today I'm taking you to the Azores. Now, for those of you who aren't sure where the Azores are or might just need a little reminder, they are a third of the way out into the Atlantic, going across from Portugal, about 1,550 kilometres west from Portugal. And the 9 islands of the Azores archipelago were formed through volcanic and seismic activity, and they sit over triple tectonic plate junctions. So you've got North America, Europe and Africa all joining together in the middle of the ocean. And it's just fantastic flying over them, because as far as the eye can see when you're in the plane, all you see is water until you see these huge volcanoes rising out of the Atlantic Ocean. It's even actually been suggested that the Azores could be the source of Atlantis, or the top of the mountain of Atlantis. I don't know about that, but they certainly are a hidden gem. We offer 3 tours in the Azores. 2 on Pico, which is the island where you can see the red marker there, and 1 on São Miguel. And the tours I'm going to be talking about today are the ones that we operate on Pico. So just to zoom into that map there, we fly into Faial, which is the island on the left, and then we take a little 25-minute ferry ride across to the lovely little town of Madalena, which is where I've put the red cross there. I always offer a beer to the first person who can spot their first dolphin of the trip on our ferry ride over, just to get people in the mood for watching for cetaceans. And the town where we stay is a wonderful, very traditional town in Pico, and this is it. This is Madalena, and it's just beautiful. It's completely untouched. And I think the thing that I really like about the Azores is because it is just that extra hop, skip and a jump away from perhaps closer places such as the Mediterranean islands and things, and also because it's volcanic, so it doesn't have white sandy beaches. It's got black volcanic rocky beaches, which are really interesting. It hasn't had a huge influx of tourism as islands such as the Canaries have had, or other areas in the Mediterranean. And the culture there really feels very much true to how it has been for centuries. It feels really undiluted, and we can enjoy a very authentic experience there, local food with no huge, horrible high-rise tower block hotels. And this is where we stay. This is the Hotel Caravelas. This is a lovely 4-star hotel, extremely comfortable, really nice spot for our stay. It's right next to where we launch the boats for our daily whale watching trips, and it's very well positioned for all of the local cafes and restaurants. That's a swimming pool there. You can just see across to the island of Faial, which is over the channel. And it's very close to the UNESCO World Heritage Site vineyards, for which the Azores is famous for producing excellent wine, where we also go and visit and do a spot of birding. But a typical day is out at sea. A typical day is out on these boats. We go out on these ribs. They're fast moving, so we can get to the spots where we need to very quickly. And what we do is we do 2 half-day trips. So we go out for the morning, we come back for lunch, and then we go out again in the afternoon. And then we'll have an evening meal at a local restaurant, which I'll recommend and I'll book for us. So I know lots of the local places which are great to eat, and then we can go and discuss the sightings of the day over a delicious meal. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is what we are there to see. These are sperm whales. Now, I'm not completely intending on you having a view exactly like this underwater. A view safely from the boat is what you'll be expecting, but to really appreciate the true magnificence of this species, I've got to show you an underwater photograph where you can see the full body. Sperm whales are probably one of my favourite whales. So many superlatives come to me when I want to describe them. They're the largest of the toothed whales, and they get up to about 12 metres in length. That would be a large adult. And the thing that I really like about them is they're deep divers. So they dive to depths of around 2,000 metres, which is where they hunt, and they feed on giant squid. And they only spend a short time at the surface when they come to catch their breath again. So they really only give us just a glimpse into their lives, but the rest of the time they're deep, way below the surface of the sea, beyond our reach. And they use sophisticated echolocation to be able to catch giant squid, which is what they feed on. And if you think about it, when you're 2,000 meters below the surface of the sea, it's going to be completely pitch black. You need a sophisticated echolocation to track down prey when you can't even see it. And the echolocation of a sperm whale is so good that it makes them the loudest animal on the planet. And in fact, it's said that if a diver, a scuba diver, is clicked at by a sperm whale, it's like being kicked in the chest by a horse. Absolutely incredible. And you see white marks around their mouths, and this is actually from them battling giant squid. The squid have tentacles and they have beaks which they scratch and fight back when the squid hunt them. And when you see old males, they quite often have a lot of scratches around their mouths from years of fighting with these squid. And they're just incredibly well adapted. This is nature's answer to the submarine. And their head takes up a third of the size of their body. It's about the same size as a car. And it's filled with a heavy, dense oil. So when they want to dive, they just tilt their head down and they just sink down into the depths. We believe that they can vary the temperature of this oil to help them control their buoyancy, because whether an oil is liquid or if it's solid, that varies its viscosity and how buoyant it is. And they're so well adapted to deep diving. They have these beautiful paddle-shaped pectoral fins, and they actually have grooves and depressions in their flanks where these paddle-shaped fins just fit into, so that they're completely flush with the size of their body, so they're streamlined. So when they want to go down and dive to these depths, they're able to do it with optimum efficiency. They can even collapse their ribs because they get exposed to such great pressure at these depths. Absolutely fantastic. So I don't expect to get a view like that, but hopefully this is more like the view that we would be seeing. So when they come up from a dive, they can be down for up to 90 minutes. 40 minutes is probably typical for a small adult or a female, but the males can be down for 90 minutes. And when they surface again, they have to spend a good 20 minutes just bobbing about on the surface, a behavior that we call logging, to replenish those oxygen supplies in their muscles. So they're getting their breath back, and that's what they're doing in the top photo here. And you can see these other photos in the bottom. We've got in the middle, we've got a mother with a calf. You can just see the calf on the left, which is wanting to fluke with the mum, lift the tail up. And sometimes they get too close for the lens. This is a baby on the bottom right here, which came up right alongside the boat to investigators, and they can be quite inquisitive. And we're looking for dolphins as well, in between watching for whales. And before working at Naturetrek and guiding in the Azores, I've been guiding at sea for 3 years around the UK, looking for whales and dolphins. And also I've been looking for whales and dolphins in other areas of the world. And I was completely blown away by my first time in the Azores with the cetacean life there, not just for the abundance of cetaceans that you could see on a trip, but also the variety of the species that you saw there. It's just teeming with life. It's incredible. This top left here is a Risso's dolphin, really distinguishable by its body marks, which it gets. So this is a unique dolphin in that when they interact with each other or when it gets scratched, its skin heals white. So this may be when other dolphins are playing with it, when they play with each other, or when they're fighting, or even when they hunting and things. Other dolphins, their skin heals back normal again, but the Risso's dolphin heals white. So when you see an adult male Risso's dolphin, they're almost completely white. They can even almost look like a beluga. I saw a Risso's dolphin in the Azores a couple of years ago, which was just completely white. And this is from years of territorial fighting over females and scraps like that, and also play. Top right here, we've got Atlantic spotted dolphins. Bottom left, we've got the very attractive striped dolphins with the island of Pico in the background, and short-beaked common dolphins as well. Now, on our May trip to the Azores, we see larger species. So we run a Great Whales of the Azores trip in May, which is to look for blue whales, fin whales, and sei whales. So I took this photograph of a blue whale when I was there in May. And fin whales too. Now we look for those in May, although I actually took this photograph in August. It was interesting to see that they were still hanging around. These whales, the larger whales, use the Azores as a stop-off point, a refueling station, if you like, when they're on their way up to the Arctic to feed for the summer. So they pass through in May and have usually left by June or so, or July. Other species as well. There's a Cuvier's beaked whale here, deep diving. Their beaked whales are just fantastic. Elusive is the word that's most frequently used to describe beaked whales. And they're incredibly shy and don't like to come up around boats. So you're really privileged if you do get to see one. And we do see them on our Azores trips if we're fortunate. Cory Shearwaters, this is top right bird here. Now, Cory Shearwaters are one of the most representative seabirds of the Azores. They fledge at 3 months and they journey hundreds of kilometers across the Atlantic towards Brazil and South Africa. But they spend the next 30 years or so traveling back to the Azores to breed. And the Azores population represents at least 75% of the Cory Shearwater population in the world. And on an evening, they'll come back to their burrows, their ground nesting, ground burrowing birds. They'll come back to the burrows at dusk, and we go to listen to the calls as they call to their mates in the burrows, and just stand in total silence and darkness and listen to them. It's a fantastic and very eerie experience. Old fishermen were very afraid of the calls of them. It's really interesting. Loggerhead turtles as well, and the Azores bullfinch, which is endemic. And this is only on San Miguel. You don't see this on Pico. And although this is a whale watching tour, we do actually spend a day on land, or 2 days if you go on the trip in May. And this is to see what the island of Pico has to offer. We don't want to just spend a day on an island, but actually out at sea every single hour of every day, and not really appreciating any of the island and its local culture before we leave. So we spend a day there, or 2 half days to go and explore. And what you see here in the top left image is a vizier. Now, the way that our whale and dolphin trips work is every morning we go down to the boat and we get ready to go out to sea. But if you remember how I showed you the map of the island of Pico, it's sort of sausage shaped like this. And we're on one end of it, we're on Madalena right here. And on the morning, we've got to make a decision whether we go north or whether we go south to go and look for these whales. And we have viziers, which is Portuguese for lookouts, stationed both on the north and the south of the island, and they're looking out to sea. They've got really powerful binoculars looking out to sea all the time to see what is around. Then we radio them in the morning, and they'll say either, oh yes, you know, there's nothing here at all, I wouldn't bother coming north. And we can radio the people in the south and they say, oh yes, there's loads of bird activity here, something's going to be happening soon, I'm sure. Or they may even say, yes, yeah, I'm watching a whale, come down right away. And it's fantastic. And then we can make that commitment and make that decision and go to where we have the best chance of seeing the whales. And it makes for really efficient whale watching, because we're not driving around for hours using lots of fuel in the boats and going for a long time without seeing things. It really optimizes our chances of seeing them and the length of the experiences that we have with them as well, while always just staying at a safe distance from them. And it's quite interesting when you're out on the boats looking for these whales. We might be sort of 15 miles out to sea, and the vizier is blaring on the radio to us, you need to go left, I can see a whale just 50 meters away from you. And we're in the boat looking around and we're just not able to see it, but he's back on shore with his binoculars shouting at us that we need to just turn around a little bit, and we've got a whale right next to us. So after a week of listening to our vizier guiding us on the radio, we will go and pay him a visit and see what he's up to, and thank him for his work. And what I find really interesting about the viziers and the Azores is that most of them used to be whalers. Now, whaling stopped in the Azores in 1987, and these people doing this job used to be the lookouts for the whalers. So they would flag that they'd seen a whale and the whalers would go out and catch them. But it's a really good example of how making an animal worth more alive than dead in conservation and good ecotourism can help a local economy and keep people employed in that. And this chap here, Antero Suarez, who's our vizier, loves the whales and is more than happy to be pointing them out to us throughout the week, which is great. We have the Azores chaffinch here, a subspecies, and the bottom left image shows the lovely topography, very volcanic topography of the islands, which we can go out exploring and bird watching. And the bottom right image is Gruta das Torres, which is these amazing underground lava tunnels, which are collapsed lava tubes. And the way that these form is when the Mount Pico erupted, which incidentally is the highest point in the whole of Portugal at 2,351 meters. Lava flows down the sides of the volcano, obviously, and onto the surrounding land. But as it's flowing down and becomes exposed, it starts to cool down, and it cools down on the outside of the lava more quickly than it does on the inside. So the inside of the lava keeps flowing, whereas the outside starts to solidify. It's much like taking a cake out of the oven, and the ends of it, the outside of it starts to harden, but inside might not be cooked. And it leaves you with these caves and tunnels which you can go and explore. And although of course not wildlife, I do like to take my groups here just for an hour, just to go and look around and see the amazing natural wonder that is the Gruta das Torres. There's amazing actinomycete bacteria which glitters silver and gold on the roofs of these caves, and of course bats, and it's great to explore. And at the end of the day, we've had a fantastic day whale watching. It's lovely just to be able to go and sit and have a delicious meal and try some delicious wines. We can go wine tasting if people wish to do that. The vineyards there are very unique. They're all made from these heavy, dense volcanic rocks which absorb all of the heat during the day, and then when the sun sets behind the island of Fayal over there, they continue to radiate heat and keep the grapes warm, so they produce lots of sugars and makes for excellent wine. And after I've had a great day out whale watching, it's lovely to be able to sit and enjoy fantastic local wine and cuisine. This is a traditional starter here, which is a local pico cheese, which is always served with honey. And I love to take my groups to different restaurants to sample local food and discuss the wildlife that we've seen for that day. And if we're really lucky, we'll finish the day with a fantastic lenticular cloud over Mount Pico. It's a wonderful way to end the day and a great way to end the trip, and hopefully a lovely way to end my talk. So I hope I've tempted you to come with us to visit the Azores, and for more information you can see our website. Thanks very much.